My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast. And, well, there's no episodes.
No.
But, we like doing interviews.
Exactly.
We like talking to people.
And, we've managed to get the copper wire between us and, places that have proper internet.
What, Townsville?
Connected. Oh, that's right.
North Queensland. And by North Queensland, we mean Canada. Terri!
Hi.
How are you going?
I am doing good. How are you guys?
Oh,
Fantastic.
we're wonderful.
Even better now we're talking to you.
We're wonderful.
Good.
So we had, obviously, when we randomly started doing your show, almost a year after it ended. I have to start with this just for our audiences in Australia too. How weird is it to suddenly have these Australians pick up this thing?
It's a little weird, especially because, like you say, it's like a year after, so you've kind of made your peace with what went down on the show.
We're just dredging up trauma.
Let's regurgitate it all again with some jokes. That's fun. But no, it actually, I loved it because you guys did it in such a funny way that I think maybe because it was that year removed, you can laugh at your mistakes now a little differently.
So
not as painful.
10 months ago, they wouldn't be talking to us. Cease and desist letters.
Now you're like, okay, it's peaceful. We're good with this now. I've come to terms. I've come to terms with
That's right. That's right.
And especially, look, we'll get it up front at the start. Well, we've got to. Especially when they come up with a harebrained idea that you are Terri Irwin in disguise. Now...
No, out of disguise.
Not out of disguise, with hiding the kids in the proofing drawer. So, again, it's... How do you feel about the fact that you're being accused of being Terri Irwin? And two, if you are actually Terri Irwin...
Found out.
If you are actually Terri Irwin, blink twice.
I'm not. I wish I was, though. That would be really cool. That would be
my
my
animals matches.
Yeah.
Your love of animals and the idea of the animals that would match absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, and she only has 2 kids, so that looks easier.
and they're paying for themselves.
Exactly. They're actually helping bring some income. So yeah, I feel like I could be Terri Irwin. But I'm not.
And on the days where you don't feel like getting up and feeding the animals, the kids are enthusiastically out there.
And you can film all that for another TV series and make some money off it. So, or you can go on American Tonight shows and nearly kill the host with an animal. So
that actually used to be my pipe dream job.
What, killing Tonight Show hosts with animals?
No, I wouldn't want to kill anybody, but being the person that brought the animals onto the show, yeah.
Oh, those ones. That'd
be cool.
They're always fun. And especially since there's, 50% of the time they go really badly.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. There's always that element.
Here's our python. He's giving you a hug.
He's giving you a really good hug. Oh, look.
That's right.
Now digesting you.
That's right. Yeah. It's still fun.
The other one is whenever they bring a bird on.
I have a bird.
What kind of bird do you have?
I have an African lovebird.
Ooh.
Oh, they're so cute.
They're awesome.
And he's 17 now. He's 17 years old.
Oh, my gosh. That's old, I presume, in bird years.
It is.
Oh.
So, that means, you would have...
Does he have to go into a nursing home soon?
Not yet.
There's a care facility.
For birds.
African lovebird care facilities. It's a big industry. It's a booming industry.
You should be glad it's not in Australia. There's about to be a royal commission into our aged care industry.
So that'll be happening with the bird industry. So, and that would have meant, though, that it would have given you a little bit more peace than on, unfortunately, the podcast which dealt with your sad demise because there was a bird in the background. So it would have been bringing some calming influence to us.
Exactly.
So I was actually listening back to that the other day. Not that I listen to myself all the time. It's not actually something I do. But I was listening back in preparation.
It's all the pictures of yourself you have all over the house. That
it's an oil painting. I spent thousands on that oil painting. I'll have you know, it was commissioned.
It's the motivational posters with your face, 2 thumbs up, and you can do it, Buchanan.
Be more like Chris. Anyway, so in that episode, we did ask a question of, did you ever answer yourself about why did I put so much white chocolate on this, Terri?
Yeah. Something that you didn't see, I also messed up my sponge. I forgot my butter.
Oh, no.
And so
you
I had
too
to,
forgot your butter.
It was
I
like
did.
the whimsy of Jude just going around the tent.
I did. So I don't know. I think I just rushed it.
Oh no.
And so you decided you needed to cover a bit and,
I just wanted to get it done and sort of just started piping it on there really fast because I wanted it to have a chance when I went with the dark chocolate to not be runny still.
Yeah. Oh, so have you made a Yule log since? Like just
No.
That was a very definitive no.
Fair enough.
That's a no.
No.
Yeah, but
No.
Any gingerbread? Have you been through the, desensitizing kind of therapy?
I did one for Christmas, but I feel like that was more because I had to prove to myself it was possible. I even set a timer of 4 hours because I was like, no.
It's like
I don't know what happened.
You realize you
it's
don't have to do that. You don't have to do that anymore. You can take as much time as you want.
I think it was the hiring of Dan Levy to come past and nibble on you.
So let's talk about that, shall we? Was it a conscious thing that everyone in the, as we call it, pavilion, is it a conscious thing that everyone in the pavilion decided they needed to feed Dan, or
was that just contractual
did it
obligation?
just develop over time, or is it in the contract?
I think it just happened. Like I don't even remember. It's funny because I watched the show and I'd see these clips and I'd be like, I don't even remember him eating that. It's like he was so stealth about it. I didn't even know
that's where my butter
my
went.
food. Yeah. I'm
like,
watching it back and I'm thinking, oh, he liked my cake. I didn't even see him eat it.
But that was we commented at the time. There were some people who got really good at that and just started making little things on the side for Dan deliberately.
That was Linda.
Linda was perfect.
I was going to say, I think that's just like the difference between a grandma and a mum. The mums kind of just ignore it. And
Whereas Linda was baking extra.
I was like, oh, I have extras for you, sweethearts. Yeah, exactly.
Linda's like, but there was, I think it was might have been that episode where Linda had literally just baked a thing for Dan. And when he came around and he's like, can I have any of these? Just that one over there is yours.
Yeah, but how good is Linda? Like, it doesn't even surprise me.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Yeah.
So did you guys all meet on the first day of filming, or have you?
We all met at the first day. I think it was 3 days before we started filming, just sort of get in, get comfortable, see the tent.
Yep.
Do that little bit of organizational stuff. But Linda and I actually met at our audition.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Those stories are always fun.
Yeah, and I said to my husband, I said, well, I don't know about me, but I know there's one lady that's going to be on that show.
She is kind of like a master.
She was feeding everybody. She fed the crew.
She just was so calm, cool, and collected, like even on audition day.
Oh, that's lovely.
The only episode where she even slightly panicked, it looked more like she was miffed. She panicked. She was just like, oh.
How dare you not work?
Yeah.
How dare you, ingredients? Do you know who I am? Exactly.
And she's looking at one of them.
I am the Linda.
So one of them
That's
was
right.
going,
Don't
have
you
ever
know?
heard of that? And Linda's like, no, I'd never heard of that, but we'll just see what happens.
Yes.
And then she had first in that challenge. You're like, Linda, how do you do that? But it's
I know. I was in front of her for bread week, and when I turned around and saw the basket she weaved, I was like, are you kidding me?
You're like,
it looks like a machine did that.
And always, whenever you get someone, and I've said this to a few people on different, because we said we've talked to all the Australian bakers, obviously, and we've talked to some of the British as well. And it always reminds me of the scene in The Simpsons where Krusty the Clown does his balloon animal and goes, what did you make, Sideshow? Luke Perry. And Luke Perry made a 19th century carousel. It always strikes me.
Exactly. That's so how it felt. 100%. Yep.
There's that one person, and you've done this, and you're like, that's amazing. That's brilliant. And you look around and you go, why am I bothering?
Yeah, you felt so good and so sure, and then you turned around. Exactly.
So when you met James, did you think, oh, they've brought in a British ring-in? Like, what is this?
Yeah, no, I got James right away. He was just such a funny guy. I could see what was good about James. He's funny. His flavors were awesome and creative. So yeah, no.
And mess-wise, he's my Patronus.
He is indeed.
Yeah, I could see that. Good choice.
He's how I cook in the kitchen. And again, you two also have something in common, as you've now pointed out. You both forgot butter in a key bake. I loved when James did it, and they turn around and they're like, Linda's like, what are you doing? Somebody forgot to put butter in this. And that was a bit of, as we refer to it, the Jude whimsy.
It was indeed.
Yes.
So
tell us about Jude, because we do love her.
In a Pavilion, go.
Oh, geez, Jude. She's funny.
The photo, by the way, the other day on her social media of her in old world garb firing a musket.
Yeah, like
on a Saturday.
It's perfect.
And honestly, 100% what you saw of Jude on the show, that's Jude.
Oh, that's wonderful.
She is to us the most Canadian person around.
And she's so much fun. Like, it was cute because when she left, we had our little stuff given back to us from culinary, and she opens the box and they had filled it with balloons.
Oh.
And that's just because it was so Jude, right? Like, that's the send-off she deserves.
That's perfect.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's absolutely perfect. So when you came into this, now obviously it's the first season of as is referred to, the Great Canadian Baking Show, but Canadian Bake Off. Now, had you watched other versions around the world beforehand? Had you seen the different versions? Did you just see British? What was your experience of Bake Off before you went in?
I had just seen the British series.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really realize how much it had caught on already.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know about Canada. I know in America, the way it got shown is a bit different because they started showing halfway through, didn't show the early seasons. So it's sort of out of whack.
Right.
We were talking to Gin and Cake, the American, the American podcast of the British Bake Off.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying that their system over there is completely out of whack and they haven't got all the series in order. They've only seen like 4 series and they started
really?
And they started at series 4.
Huh.
So American.
So
totally US. This is the world under Trump.
Right? It's so true. What a bastard that guy is.
Exactly. 100%. No. That's a podcast. That's a podcast stance.
I see you I just look at Canada. I'm so envious. Justin Trudeau, like, what a leader. Like,
he's good, but even he, it's just the game that always gets played. It's always work. It's
There's
hard.
always There's always.
But I mean, God, like compared to what's next door, absolutely.
Yeah.
Compared to the overly tanned neighbour.
Oh my God.
Below you in the apartment building.
Get up in the morning.
See, in Australia, we could wake up tomorrow with a new prime minister. They just knife each other in the back.
We rotate them so frequently. So
it's a daylight savings. No, just time to
Yes, okay, Australia. So we're changing prime minister. Remember that means changing smoke alarm battery. So with the British series that you'd seen, was there what had you sort of taken from the British series that you'd watched?
Technique was really important, like that you were technically doing things correctly.
Mm-hmm. Did that mean you were practicing at home? Like, was there any techniques that you hadn't come across before that you thought, okay, let's give that a bell?
A little bit, not too much. It was more just refining it. So like trying to work with sugar and do those things a bit more that you wouldn't do very often.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sugar work's not a regular occurrence. I can't believe that. Who doesn't just find sugar on a daily basis?
So did you then have to kind of hide that stuff from the kids? Like, so they didn't come home to eat, a lot of spun sugar or...
I let them eat it.
Oh, that's so cool.
No, I totally let them eat it. Yeah,
that's the perfect reaction.
Yeah, I joined them. We ate it together. It was good.
It became a family event.
It really did.
Oh, really nice. Did.
So have you seen any other versions, not just talking about the Australian version, have you seen any other versions now of Bake Off since you were on?
Yeah, I've seen the Australian. I watched the Irish one, even though that was short-lived. There was some good fun on that one.
Could you imagine it? Very boozy.
Everything's Guinness. Everything's Guinness.
Time for some good crack.
Guinness
pie. Yeah, that's what you do in my own accent.
Oh, not you and your accent.
Yeah. Do you do it?
Anyway, so what other series have you seen?
Pog Mahon Divina Barse. That one means
those 3. So I've seen the Australian, the British, most of the series I've seen of that one, and then the Irish one. I didn't really get into the American one. I don't know. I found they made some weird changes to that one's format.
Nobody got into the American one, it turns out. So we won't talk about that. We'll move past the American one.
Embarrassing cousin.
It's the embarrassing cancel cousin. Of just, again, for our Australian, not because we're looking for Australian compliments, we're legitimately not, but of the Australian one, what did you sort of see of that?
Ooh.
You don't have to remember specifics, but,
Was there a really young guy and a tall blonde? That would be season 3.
I love the way you're just trying to remember seasons.
Yeah.
Because...
Oh, God, what is the name? I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. I can't pull out a name.
You're talking to Kristie. She renamed everybody.
Oh yeah, that's right. I should
Rename
just make
people.
one up.
Just make one up. We'll invent one.
Sheila.
Sheila. There you go. Bob and
Yeah.
Billy and Sheila.
And that one. No, but okay, so I'm not going to name a specific name, but something that I thought is really cool in the Australian one is I actually think the creativity level on it is really high. Like the British one has creativity, and I'm not trying to take anything away from it, but it still seems like in the same box as British baking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's one of those things where, and we've actually sort of, after watching Canadian, we've sort of had a few conversations about this actually in terms of how we think the series play out. My personal opinion, it is a completely personal opinion. I'm not going to swarm you with it because I don't want you to swap with it, is that I prefer the Australian overall because of their...
He can understand the accents.
Apart from that, I prefer the Australian overall simply because, that, again, as you sort of pointed out, they're given that freedom to actually do stuff and they want stuff.
Yeah, it makes it more fun to watch, I think.
And what we love about Canadian is we think it's closer to Australian than British.
I would agree with you.
And they've got a similar sort of vibe as well, and the feeling. And I just, that's one of the things that hooked us in with Canadian was that it's just got this feeling, and it feels to us a lot like that Australian sort of sensibility. Whereas with the British, it is a little bit more stuffy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I think had I seen more of some of the other versions, that might have helped me a little bit, because I think in my head, I was going by the guideline of what I'd seen on British, which was much more trying to keep it in that box of what was expected.
Yeah. Cool.
And when we spoke to Yan from British Bake Off, she said, and Stephen from the same series, what they both said was they'd actually watched a lot of the Australian stuff to get ideas.
Right.
So they were watching the Australian stuff because of the creativity, and they're like, we just took a lot from that.
So in the pavilion, whose bakes do you remember being delicious? Like, you know, after the cameras stop rolling in, you can go and like...
Whose bench did you all run at? And why was it?
I would have to say James. For me, James's types of flavors are flavors I really love.
Yeah.
Like it seemed almost every week his flavors, I was like, I could have done that. Those are flavors I would like together. So I'd say his bench was one. I mean, you didn't want to get too close. It was a disgusting mess. But, you know, sometimes he would take the food away from that mess and bring it over to our clean benches. And we could enjoy it all together. So, yeah, I would say his flavors for me were probably really great. Vandana, too. She had some really creative flavors that I thought were things I wouldn't have thought of. So I actually enjoyed that, too.
Yeah, there was some really, and again, that's what we were talking about, the experimentation.
Yeah.
There were just some flavor profiles where you look at them and you go, I would never have thought to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like it's actually really cool.
Exactly.
And something I found exciting too, like watching the Canadian one, is ingredients that I'd never heard of before, like Saskatchewan berries. Is that right? Did I get the right?
That's
flavor?
right.
Yes.
Got that.
They popped up in the first 3 weeks so much I swore they were a sponsor.
So what are they similar to, or what are they sour? Are they sweet? Or
I'm not okay. So I make jam with them. I think they're great for jam, but I'm not a huge fan of them. I think there's a texture to them. Like I want to say like a sour blackberry.
Oh, right.
But maybe a bit firmer texture, and in the center a bit firmer. So a little more, not as sweet, more tart side, blackberry-ish.
Okay, cool. I used to get in trouble for eating blackberries when we went out blackberry picking as a kid. My aunt, we used to go up to the country, and like in Australia along the railways, they'd planted a lot of blackberry bushes. So in this particular area, lots of blackberry bushes, and we'd go out and she's like, don't eat any. And then you'd come back, you know, with a face like covered in blackberry juice and like stains across your t-shirt. Have you been eating any? No. You feel sick, don't you? Yes, I do.
And now a couple of things with your time, obviously, in the pavilion. The first thing was you didn't half give yourself pressure, did you, in the first week? By in cake week, star baker.
Yes.
Now, not that you were setting a high bar, but how did you go with that?
Yeah, I kind of wish that hadn't happened first week.
But did you walk past Linda's bench and go, yeah, take that, woo, yeah.
Oh, no.
Walks in day 2 with music.
Right? Yeah, no, I probably could have done without maybe being the first one.
Just taking
There's always
that
pressure. There's always pressure.
Yeah, and I think too, because it's also, for me anyway, it was also the first time someone went home.
Yeah.
And so I kind of felt like everybody, this is every one of us, and you probably see it on every show. Everyone says, I don't want to be the first one to go home.
Poor Pierre.
Right? Like everybody, that's the thing. It's like, just please, no, God, don't be the first one to go home. And so in that moment, I'm just thinking, I feel so bad for the person who was that one, because it could have been any of us.
Yeah, that's why we've suggested that they have a Patsy Baker, like just.
And I love that.
And I've put it to producers.
I love that.
I've asked, I've begged, I've pleaded.
I mean, it'll be bloody obvious.
Yeah,
I asked them if, because we were Canadian, we could do it more like curling scoring. That everybody stays, and at the end of the ends, then we tally it up and see who wins.
Then just everyone stays, and at the end it's like, and we're done. Well done.
That's right.
Which is why we thought at the end of Canadian Bake Off is that Bruno would announce, and everyone wins.
Right?
We all celebrate together. Now healthcare. No. So with the judges, how much did you know of the judges before you went in there? Because that's an element that you don't really think about for people going in there, is that you are at the whim of the judges, and you need to know what they like and don't like. How much did you know about them?
Zero.
Same as us.
Yeah, and again, and Rochelle's got her place over in Western Australia, and we knew
that's a 10-hour flight away.
But
can't just pop down the road for one of Rochelle's high teas.
But we did speak to our friends in Western Australia, and they knew nothing about her until this.
Right? Yeah, no, nothing.
We're going to go to high.
Like even that night, we all went back to the hotel after we met them, and Googled them. It's like, what am I going to do now? Oh, great. Hates raspberries. That'll work. Like, you're fucked at that point. So, I mean.
It's like, we're done. That's it. Fuck off. We're done.
But yeah, my next 6 bakes have all got raspberry as the main ingredient.
What am I going to do with my raspberry tart?
Exactly. Or poor Corey, who knew they fucking hated pumpkin, and he's got to make this pavlova.
Oh, no.
And then, but then later on, when Linda did the same, Linda just had pumpkin through one of hers. Everything was pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
That's bold.
Yes.
That's a really bold thing. But yeah, I can imagine that, like, not knowing, and it was weird for us because we started watching it, and obviously the ether delivered, and thank you, ether. And we started watching it, and then we heard like Rochelle talk, and we're sitting there going,
"That's an Aussie."
There's an Australian accent there.
And I haven't seen her appear on MasterChef.
I haven't seen her on any Australian cooking shows, and that's an Australian accent. Okay, Google.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, look, Highgate. Perfect. Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
So, yeah, it was weird for us too, because we're like, don't know those. And if you happen to be listening, hi, Bruno, because Bruno's tweeted us a few times. So that's really cool.
They're both actually very cool people, so.
I have no doubt. If they'd like to talk to us,
they are awesome.
More than happy to talk to them.
So how big was Dan's trailer? Like, we just presume.
I don't know. We weren't allowed over there.
It's very special. He's got cheese and wine.
Yeah,
that's right. I don't know. We never got a glimpse.
What is his level of celebrity over in Canada? Like, is he like,
Oh, he's huge. Yeah, no, he's huge. Rightfully so. Like, super talented dude. And, he's an awesome guy as well.
Yes.
Like, he doesn't come across for how famous he is here.
No, he seems on the show extremely down to earth. And
yeah, he is super nice
and just lovable. And so's Julia. The thing is, the thing that holds those shows together is always said it's the hosts and their ability to interact and take stress out of a stressful situation.
Exactly.
And those two have nailed it.
Yes,
they did. And they were nice. Like, I genuinely, I mean, maybe they're just great actors because they are, but I genuinely felt like they cared when they would come over when things were sideways.
You know what I mean? Like, there has to be a level of authenticity in order to be around people and come across on camera. Because you guys are, in that space together for, 12, 16 hours a day. I just presume it's like a long slog. And, that will wear down and break down people's masks because you can't
absolutely
sustain that.
Yeah.
So,
and it's something that we find that Bake Off around the world seems to bring those people in more than any other show.
Yeah.
And you can't fake nice and you can't fake
No.
genuine.
Yeah.
And there is a genuine bake-off ethos around the world of that, and like the helping out again. Like most of those other cooking shows, it's cutthroat. And if someone's
Absolutely.
bake fails or someone's cook fails, oh, well, bad luck.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's not the bake-off way.
No.
Like, again, in the most recent series of Australian Bake Off, we had one of the bakers, unfortunately, in the grand final, her bake collapsed in the grand final. She was making a treasure chest out of amazing nougatine, by the way. We might have been there. But making this chest out of nougatine, and it collapsed. And the person who ended up winning finished her bake like about 6 minutes early and ran over him at, what can we do? And so they together rebuilt the chest and put it all back together again and just worked on hers.
That's so nice.
To get it finished. And it's happened in semi-finals. It's happened all over.
And we see it in Canadian for sure.
Yeah, there were people helping out all over the place in Canadian too. What can I do? How can I help?
Yeah, absolutely. There was a ton of that in the kitchen.
Like, was it Vandana who gave James her leftover molten sugar? Was that?
Yeah, during the Crocodile challenge.
Yeah, during the Crocodile. He ran out when he ran out.
Right.
And he's like, caramel. And because at the end he goes, if my caramel beats me.
Well, and even simple things that you don't see, like you're out of a spoon and there's like 30 seconds left and someone's saying, here, I've got a spoon. It's just the little things that you wouldn't see, like you say, on those other cooking shows.
It's a different culture.
Yeah. And it's like I just presume that because Canada's so nice, it's the nicest country in the world, that and Bake Off being the nicest show in the world, that it would just be this beautiful bubble of niceness, and it was gorgeous to watch.
It was lovely. It's absolutely lovely to watch. So
was there, because I only see the one bird like shown, because Australian Bake Off prides itself on like showing little bits of
it's wildlife
and plants and stuff, and there's just one bird. Like, was there more wildlife around the tent?
There was a little bit, because so I'm that cool person who will like point out the types of birds they see.
No.
So there was definitely a little bit more wildlife, but basically where we are, it's gorgeous acreage estates and walking paths and stuff, and it's huge, but it is still in Toronto.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That would be the reason why you've just. That was a red cardinal, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yes, look at me. I'm a verified Twitcher.
Welcome to Twitchers United. We'll be back right after this.
Like in Australian Bake Off, it's in a park that has a lot of dog walkers. So occasionally you'll just see like dogs just wandering by
through. And
we had dogs too, because I kept asking if I could go and pet them.
and they've made the fatal at the last grand final of bring your dogs to the grand final.
That wasn't followed up this year, was it?
I don't know.
Oh, that's true.
So we'll have to find out from people who were there. So, but yeah, the grand final last year they asked for dogs. And they wanted dogs there, and they wanted children there. And then when they were recording, they were like, "Whose bright idea was it to bring dogs and children?"
Worst combination.
It was horrible. Yeah. Animals and children don't work.
Because we didn't, did we?
No, there weren't. That was the first year they decided to bring the dogs with them, and it's like, oh, that was a mistake.
Yep.
Although one dog kept on drawing focus. One of the former contestants, brought her dog in a little coat. And it was just the cutest dog. And there's like a million shots on that grand final
of just this dog.
Of the dog.
That's cute.
Forget the
bacon.
bacon.
I would have liked to bring my dog. That might have been more fun than my kids.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a Great Dane.
Oh, geez.
Oh, that could have been fun.
Lounging out there on the deck.
Well, you've heard in the background of the podcast, you've heard our dog Leo, our
yes,
back, and you've heard from our cats as they've knocked over microphones, etc. So we've got our own menagerie here.
So what does your menagerie compile of, Terry?
So I've got the Great Dane, and then I've got the Lovebird, and then we have about 30 platy fish.
What are they? Like, are they like little fish?
They're like a live bearer fish, which is why we have so many, because they keep reproducing. So
Stop it.
They're the rabbits of the fish world.
Yeah, not a good thing.
And I presume they're not edible, so it's not like a
No, they're not. We're saving for that. No, I kind of let survival of the fittest happen in the tank. You can like isolate the babies because they might get eaten, but I feel like
If you're
I don't
not
know why.
surviving, you didn't deserve it.
I don't know.
You want to live? Work for it. Work
right.
for it.
It's
So-
like when they show those like beautiful wildlife shots of all those baby turtles hatching, and like it's glorious and it's beautiful to see. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is probably the last thing that they'll ever do before they're like just eaten by whatever is waiting out there for them.
True. I know. It's such a sad thought, right?
Yes.
Circle
of life.
You've just, and not related to anything we're talking about, but you've just reminded me of my favourite moment in any form of those nature documentaries,
Yeah.
which is the Great Barrier Reef. Monty Halls, the guy from the BBC, is up there, and he's watching turtles lay their eggs.
Mhm.
And he's laying there over the top of this like sand nest while the turtle's laying her eggs. And she's flicking the sand over to cover it, and he's just clearly annoying her. And she starts throwing sand at him.
Like, go away.
And there's a flick that goes near him and a second flick that goes near him. And you can see he's like aware of it. And the third time, she doesn't miss. She just gets this entire flipper full of sand and throws it as hard as she can in his face. And he just goes, I think she's sending me a message. I think we better go. Like, and this turtle just about killing him with sand because it's like, I'm laying eggs. Can you get the camera off me?
Right?
Very private moment.
Slap.
I did not consent to this.
I did not consent. So back to the pavilion. Couple more things. First of all, how nice is it to have like an area with like a patio with furniture and like? Did you get to use that? Because we don't get that. We've got a temporary shed.
We did a little bit. So, like, if you were waiting for the judging to happen at certain points, like after the technical, obviously we can't be in the tent. So, they'd call us back and they might still be finishing up. So, like in those moments, we could use it, but probably more the crew people.
The crew had that written into their contracts. We'd like a lounge and we'd like an umbrella.
Cocktail hour.
Happy hour baking. So, yeah, because we've got a temporary shed, which as Robert, who's one of our friends who was on the most recent series, talked about, looks amazing and is wonderful. And it's a great structure, but it's got both sides completely open.
Yeah.
Cross breeze. And the floor is spongy. So when you step on it, the oven doors sometimes bounce a little bit.
Oh, no. Letting out
so
heat.
that impacts cooking times as well. So that's a bit of an issue as well. Is that what is that like as a structure to bake in?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, the only issue for us was, I think for our season, we filmed in July.
Yep.
So it was hot. Really, really hot. And I mean, there was a bit of air conditioning, obviously, units going in there, but at certain points when you're filming, like sitting there waiting for your turn during the judgment, the air has to be off.
Oh,
that's a problem.
So you're now in this tent with windows and you're thinking, oh, sweet Jesus, don't let this fucking melt on me.
It would also be a bit weird having to do things like gingerbread and Yule logs in the middle of June, July.
That too, yeah.
Welcome to Christmas in Australia.
Yeah, welcome to what we've got to do in Christmas time. It's 45 degrees Celsius outside. Let's have a roast.
Right?
Does that make sense? Now, I always like asking this of people. What is the bake that you did that you were the happiest with? Doesn't have to be the best one, but just the one you were happiest with.
I'm probably actually going to say my teeth.
That makes sense.
Even though I could have, cooked my choux pastry a bit longer, I think I'm the happiest with that one just because it had a lot of components that I had to get done.
Yeah, and you did them all.
And I did them all. And that kind of, I was kind of like, after I finished, I was like, I so didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be screwed or scrambling, but it was like the first time that I had done something. And I was like, I didn't feel like a complete clusterfuck panic. It's like, I've got it.
You're like, you know what? I fucking got this.
Yes.
I'm on.
Yeah.
I'm on. Look, this is good. Look at pictures. I got this.
Yeah, exactly.
Which one of the technicals did you hate the most? Because those technicals, and they're mean with you.
Brutal.
Because here they sometimes leave one element out, but it's only a sometimes. Every week you guys had something left out.
Yeah. Yep.
So which of those technicals still sort of brings back like chills?
I mean, obviously the last one is the one I want to say because it was such an enormous fuck up, but
who knows what a goulash is anyway?
But you know what? I don't actually, like, I've made them since and I enjoy making them. I would never want to make a brandy snap again in my life.
Again, as James said on his one, it's the reason I left the UK.
That is a fair statement. When I was going to the show, I have family in Britain and I asked for all their crazy desserts. And first thing after this was over, I said, what the fuck were those? Nobody told me about these.
See, out here, and I mentioned it on the podcast that week, like we get the brandy snaps, like just the flat biscuits.
Yeah.
I love those. But the idea of then having to twirl them into like a cannoli shape and fill them?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I manhanded the lace totally away on those.
The last time I had a brandy snap, it was quite disappointing. We'd gone to this beautiful seafood restaurant, had a massive seafood platter to share, and then we thought, let's indulge in some dessert. This is with your parents,
yes.
Remember? And so we looked and there's like a brandy snap basket. And we thought, that looks great. There was less snap, more kind of stuck in your teeth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In terms of a basket, I think it was more the rudimentary beginnings of what a basket would be.
It was a make it yourself basket. It was
deconstructed.
Right.
Do your own thatching.
Yes.
Thatch your own basket.
Pieces together. That's right.
Yeah, and it was a bend. It wasn't a snap. So it was a brandy bend.
I'm surprised they haven't left after it.
It was a deconstructed brandy bend.
So we've now
right. That's deconstructed. That's the safe word.
So hipster.
And are there any of your bakes outside of the technicals that you did in the show and then went never again, just never again?
I mean, I want to say gingerbread house, but I know what I did there, and the one I made this year, I enjoyed making it, so I don't think that would be a no. But
and to be fair, most gingerbread houses, like for example, don't have solar panels and lights and
no.
Well,
and
yeah.
And you can stay up all night and you can drink while you're making them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's it. No one would normally make it in 4 hours, right? But yeah, no, there's nothing I wouldn't make. I mean, yeah, no, I liked all the bakes that we did pretty much. My donuts weren't too sweet. I stand by that statement.
No, and that brings us to the sweetness argument. So a lot of the time it was, this is really sweet. This is really sweet. Is that a byproduct of baking for kids?
I'll be honest, it's a byproduct of baking for my husband. This is not to take,
it's a byproduct of baking
out on him, but he's that guy who always wants me to replace the like bitter chocolate or semi-sweet with milk chocolate, and I'm like, why?
He essentially had the taste buds of Leslie Knope from
yeah, I don't know what happened there. But so I would say yes, but honestly, yeah, sure.
It's baking.
Just leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. Yeah.
So have you caught up with any of the other bakers since the show ended?
We're on WhatsApp, so we still chat on that a fair bit.
Oh, nice. And
yeah, so like almost daily there's messages sort of going back and forth or
like,
whatever.
Have you heard these crazy Australians?
Right? We totally did talk about you guys.
Have you heard these weird people from the other side of the world talking about our show?
Absolutely.
They're singing weird crap.
They think I'm Terri Irwin.
They think I'm Terri Irwin. They've done a version of Hey Jude.
Regina.
They keep singing Experience Regina.
Experience Regina.
They do know that's not a real thing, right? Yes, we do.
It is now.
It is. It's real to us. Damn it. So, was there anyone where they bake something and like after the show you went, oh, I'd really like to, and you've made that? Is there anything that sort of inspired you that way?
Absolutely. Like actually, Sinclair, I loved his mirror glaze.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yes.
And he actually was kind enough to share the recipe, and that's the mirror glaze I still use. It's perfect recipe, good flavor to it. So yeah, I use that a lot. Linda gave out a few recipes as well. And of course we all had to have Corey's challah bread, right? So,
yes, you needed that. And just on our side of things, the only thing so far that I have made from that show is somebody's sweet potato. I don't know that.
Oh, they were delicious, Terri. Oh my God.
Good.
Yes.
They're simple too, right? So
yes.
As I said, I like crunch. I like potato starch.
Exactly.
What's not to like?
Oh,
exactly.
And it was like, that kind of like, it had like cinnamon in it, didn't it? Or like that
Mhm.
kind of, but it wasn't overpowering. It was like the best balance of the inside of a sweet potato pie without it being
And a crunch.
It's just
Without it being too sweet, right?
yes.
No, they were absolutely perfect. When I was watching the show that day, and we were watching that one, and that popped up, and I just looked at Kristie and went, "I'm making that.
Like, yes,
I'm making that. That's the thing." It's because my thing is that, unlike your husband, I'm not a massive sweet tooth, which is funny because we do so many baking shows.
that's me. I'm the
You're
one
the
who's
sweet tooth.
sacrificing to
So
the.
do you want to hear something funny? I prefer savory bakes.
I'm the same thing. I love the
I would
savory
prefer
bake.
a second helping of my dinner even sometimes than the dessert.
So
Our cat Polly just wanted to come up and say hello.
she just came up. So everyone just heard a meow. It wasn't me. So you know, I'm not meowing into the microphone. That was a cat. I haven't suddenly morphed. Well, this has been absolutely brilliant.
I've got one more question
more?
though. What have you been up to since? Because like at the end of Great British Bake Off and Australian Bake Off, we get since the show, this person has been,
Done this.
So
since the show,
what have you been doing, Terri?
So I've been doing my blog and working on that, and I've actually been doing a lot of cake orders.
Ooh.
So I'm kept pretty busy by that, but I am trying to go into, there's like a local pizza place here that's really popular, franchise in my city, and he has a area he's not using that's like a display case sort of cooled area. So I'm in the talks. He's agreed to let me sell my donuts there. So that's sort of, that would be fun because I love donuts, are actually my favorite.
I think
thing
yours
to
and
play
every other
around with.
person in Canada, really.
well, feel free. What do you have to plug now? Plug away. This is a great opportunity. Plug away.
to the Australians that are listening.
So, and to Canadians.
Oh yeah, true.
We have a Canadian audience now.
Just my blog, I guess, that you could follow. But I've fallen off that, but I'm going to get better. I just was busy this summer with family things going on and stuff like that. So I guess you could follow my blog. That's
nice.
Yeah, get onto Terri's blog. It is some of the recipes on there are, again, sweet potato is there. And if nothing else, that is perfect.
Yes. And are you guys gearing up for a good Halloween? Like, do you do fun stuff for Halloween or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice.
It's a baking time of year.
Or at this time it's called booking. Get it?
Oh my God.
Very funny, very unique.
Yeah. That's what I'm here for.
Hey, we've avoided the accents. We'll go with that.
I did Irish. I've refrained from the Canadian.
Did you really? So, this has been an absolute blast, Terri. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking to you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. So until next time when we do episode 2 of the Great Canadian Bake Off Season 2, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
We'll catch you all later.
Crikey!